Hi there, my name is Jay Posick. I'm the proud principal at Merton Intermediate School in Merton, Wisconsin, and I'm here to talk to you about being a principal in action. And what that means is getting out of your office. But here I am on a Sunday afternoon in my office. So I'm in my office because I'm out in classrooms all day, every day, or as much as I can be. Because you all know, being principals or administrators or teachers, sometimes there are things that just call you back to your office, whether it's an email or a phone call or a discipline issue or just having a meeting with a parent or a teacher or other staff members. So my job today is to help you understand the best ways of getting out of your office. But let me give you a little bit of background information on me first. So first of all, I'm in my 35th year as an educator. I have taught 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. I did that for 15 years at a variety of schools in Waukesha, which is a town in Wisconsin. And then I moved on to become an assistant principal at Pilgrim Park Middle School, which is in Elmbrook. It's kind of a mix of Brookfield and Elm Grove. I was there for 5 years, and I'm currently my 15th year at Merton Intermediate School. We are a 5th through 8th grade school out in the outskirts of Milwaukee, about a half an hour west of Milwaukee. Great little town. It's got a four-way stop, 2 bars and a feed mill, but we have some great kids. We have some great families. And we have some great staff here that work with our kids every single day. I have a beautiful bride. Her name is Jennifer. We've been married for 29 years, and we have a daughter, Lauren, who is studying to be an educator. I couldn't be more proud of the fact that she wants to be an educator. So let's talk about Principals in Action. How did it get started? Well, it started a long time ago with Adam Welcome, who at the time was a principal out in California, and he suggested that we need to change what being a principal looks like. And part of that is getting out of your office. And he started with a challenge. And the first challenge I remember really well was to take a picture of yourself out on the playground going down the slide. That was our first challenge. And after that, it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And what we really were focusing on, those of us that are principals in action, is to make sure that you are out of your office, you're visible, whether that's in the classrooms, in the hallways, at student drop-off and pick-up, at PTO events, at concerts, wherever that might be, so that the kids get to know you, and the families get to know you, and your staff knows that they've got your back, or you've got their back, I should say. It's also making connections and building relationships, and we've been able to do that using a Twitter hashtag, Principals in Action. It's kind of a long hashtag, but it is a place where we oftentimes find people who have shared their ideas and shared their thoughts and maybe even ask some questions about their practice and what they might be able to do a little bit better. That Twitter hashtag is still alive and active. We also, you might not be able to see it, but on my wrist here, I have a wristband. It says, "Get out of your office." It's on this sweatshirt as well, Principals in Action, Smiles, High Fives, and Changing Lives. That was a kind of a theme that we had for a little while, and I'm wearing this sweatshirt proudly about that. But redefining the role really means let's make sure that we are not in our office all day long. I remember way back when I was a teacher, I had principals that were definitely out of their offices all the time, and then I had other principals that the only place you could find them was in their office. And I learned so much from Mr. Joe Vitale, the first principal I worked for. He was in my office back in the day before emails. He would bring his mail into my room, and he would sit in the back of the room, and he would look at mail. And then after he'd gone through the mail, he would maybe take me out in the hallway or just take me aside and say, "Hey, Jay, you really did well here," or "Here's some things to think about." I happen to be sarcastic, and especially when I was really young, teaching 2nd and 3rd grade, sarcasm definitely was not something that the kids really understood. So I had to change how I spoke, and I just was so grateful for that feedback that I got from Mr. Vitale. And redefining the role just means being in classrooms so that you can provide teachers feedback. I get into classrooms as often as I can. I have teachers sometimes ask me, "Jay, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. Did I do something wrong?" So just finding ways to get out and about. I actually make sure that I put time in my calendar that says get into classrooms, because sometimes you just forget to do that. And early on, we also had some weekly challenges that we had through Principals in Action. I might try and bring those back. I've tried a couple of different times, and honestly, it has become a little bit different in these last couple of years with COVID and the things that are put upon our plate. Honestly, here I am on a Sunday afternoon, and I've had to handle some COVID situations, both with students and with staff. Something I didn't have a class in that. I don't think any of us had a class in what we were supposed to do when a global pandemic broke out and how we were supposed to change things. But even despite the fact that we have those changes, I have to be honest, it has been wonderful to maintain that being out of your office mentality and get into classrooms. Because sometimes there are those days where it's really, really tough and you don't really know really know if you're in it for the right reason, and then you get into that classroom, you find that one classroom, and all of a sudden you see the spark and that why comes back. And so that's one of the reasons, the really big reasons now, that I think it's really vital for us all to find ways to get out of our office. Put it on your calendar, have your secretary remind you to get out, have a teacher that just chirps at you all the time and says, hey, it's time for you to come into my classroom. These are the great things that I'm doing in my classroom. You need to see what our kids are doing. So I encourage you to find people that can help to provide that little push to get you out into classrooms. And one of my favorite challenges was to find one of those challenging students. We all have them. Find one of those challenging students and make a connection. Find out, maybe hang out with them at recess. Maybe you have lunch with them, sit down at the table. Maybe just go for a little walk in the hallway. And just find out how things are going. We all have students that we can connect with. It might be that there's a favorite book or a book that you share in common that you both really enjoy. It could be an activity that people do. I've got some students who are swimmers, and I can't swim, but I love to listen to them talk about their swimming adventures. But just finding that connection, it's so powerful when you can find a connection. And those connections are going to make things so much better for your kids. They're going to know that there's one more trusted adult that definitely is there for them. And being visible is just extra important. Every single morning, nearly every morning, I am out at student drop-offs, so I get to see the families who are dropping off their kids before school. I am the one who lets them in the door. I walk the hallways when they come in, checking in on students, checking in on staff. They know I'm around, and they also know when I'm not around. So just being in the hallways is so important. Visiting classes as often as you possibly can. It's just so imperative that we find ways to get into classrooms, because we've all had those phone calls from families too that says, hey, do you know what's happening in Mr. Smith's classroom? And you say, well, I do. I was just in there today, and he's doing these amazing things. Have you talked to your kids about the things that they're doing in class? And it's really, really a powerful way of having a conversation with a family. Doing formal and informal walkthroughs with your teachers, leaving a little note. That's so powerful when you say, hey, you know what? I love the connection you made with that content, with those kids, and just seeing the kids and their interactions with you was just such a powerful thing. Getting out on the playground at recess time. Yes, I'm a middle school principal, but guess what? We have recess for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They have recess every single day. I fortunately have put into the schedule a time that our gym is free, the same time that we have recess. So if we have indoor recess, we are still able to be active. It's so important. I live in Wisconsin. Today is 18 degrees. Tomorrow might be 25 degrees, but we go outside for 20 minutes of recess. And the kids may grumble about it a little bit, but getting them outside and getting them in the fresh air and having some fun and being out there with them is really quite powerful. And then if you're not at recess because you've got supervisors who are out there, then make sure you find time to be in the cafeteria with the kids. They know when you're there. Their behavior changes when you're there. You can make great connections. I just love sitting down and talking to kids. Sometimes I sit afar and listen in and then interject things. They'll be talking about their soccer games or their hockey games or their swim meets or their basketball games. And just making those connections during lunch and recess is really, really powerful. I also, although I don't have a mobile office, I have a Chromebook. So I'm able to take my Chromebook from classroom to classroom. So if I need to send out an email, because frankly I'm getting old and trying to send emails on my phone doesn't always work really well, I'm able to take care of emails. I can find documents. I can take notes for observations and mini observations. Just carrying that Chromebook around has really given me a mobile office. I'm in, like I said before, I'm in the hallway with my phone or with my Chromebook. So if people need me, they can access me. I carry my walkie-talkie with me as well, not as often as I probably should, but that's another way that our staff and our secretaries are able to get a hold of us. So even if you're not in the office, people can find us pretty easily. And one of the things I want to talk about, we're ending our semester this upcoming Friday, and there's always the parent-teacher conferences and concerts and those sorts of things. Just being out in the lobby to greet families when they come in, helping them find the classroom where the conference happens to be, joining in a conference when it's not necessarily, sometimes it's kind of a nice surprise when the principal sits in and says, you know what, not only are they doing well in the classroom, but here's what I see in the hallway and in the cafeteria, and they're just such great kids. You've done such a great job raising them. Those kinds of things go a long way as we're talking with our parents. So find as many different ways to connect with parents as you possibly can. The other thing about being a principal in action and getting out of your office is when you're able to see things that our teachers are doing, it's just so nice for a handwritten note to leave on their desk or to put in their mailbox, just something that you have seen that really is making a great effort for connections with our kids. We have done things like March Madness sorts of things where there's different activities that could possibly go on throughout the month of March, which is coming up pretty soon. Meals at conference time, just those things just to show the different gratitude that you happen to have there. I've done the 10 days before winter break, either a different dress-up day or a different little treat in mailboxes. And my wife, love her to death, and she does an incredible luncheon for our staff, and that goes so long, and she gets such great thank you notes from that. So the gratitude goes both ways. Teachers know that if you're out and about, that you're there for them, and you're not just waiting in your office. Because if you're waiting in your office, you can. Guess what? Not such good stuff is going to show up in your office if you just wait in your office. So get out and about so that you can meet those things head on. We all know the kids that might struggle, or especially if we're out at student drop-off in the morning, you might see a student that doesn't seem like themselves. Those are the kinds of times that you need to go make connections with those kids, whether it's in the hallway or just sitting next to them in their classroom, and just making sure that they're okay. Just as much as you can, showing gratitude and connections for kids and for our staff and for our families, frankly. One other thing, if you happen to be a Twitter person, and I happen to be a Twitter person, I think it was my 14th year on Twitter, just the anniversary was just this last week. We have a chat, Principals in Action has a chat. It's PIA chat because Principals in Action is too long, so hashtag PIA chat, which happens every other Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That hopefully helps out those people on the East Coast. It's a little not too late for them and not too early for those people on the West Coast, but that Twitter chat has an awful lot of great ideas and suggestions that go along with that. So by all means, try and join us on one of those Twitter chats coming up. We also have a Facebook group. There are some questions to answer, like, yes, you are a principal, and here's a school I'm a principal at, and the email that goes along with that. That's another great place to connect and find ideas. Instagram, people have connected with Principals in Action on Instagram. And then the other thing is, to be a principal in action, to get out of your office, is not just during the school day. I encourage you to get connected in other ways, like maybe attending an ed camp, or connecting in person at conferences, whether they're state conferences or national conferences, but trying to find ways that you can connect with principals like yourself, because those are the people that you're going to get the great ideas from. One of the other things that's really important about being connected and getting out of your office and being a principal in action is the strengthening of relationships that you can have. And Mark French, a dear friend of mine, he was co-author along with Ryan Shee of Principals in Action, a book that the three of us wrote together, started Good News Calls of the Day. And it is just an amazing way of reaching out to families and letting the families know the great things that our teachers and our principals are seeing in their kids. I encourage you to try and do a good news call of the day, at least 3 or 4 a week. If nothing else, it's the best part of your day, to be honest with you. Positive office referrals are always a good thing as well, and different ways that you can acknowledge the kids and the staff members. Because we've done good news calls of the day with our staff as well. And tears flow as I call someone's husband or wife or mother or father or aunt or uncle, whomever they'd like us to call, and just sharing why we're so happy that those staff members are here in our school. So don't forget to give those good news calls of the day to your staff as well. And honestly, getting out of your office will make your school climate better. You're going to be seen. People will see you. You know, the smiles, high fives, and changing lives. There are times when it's a fist bump in the hallway or a high five in the hallway or just a smile. It was difficult for us. We're right now with COVID and masks. Sometimes it's hard to see that look underneath a mask, but smiles go an awfully long way. Thank you notes to students. You know, maybe you get gifts at the holiday time. I got gifts from some of our students, and I made sure to send a handwritten thank you note home to those families. Those connections go such a long way of making some real good, the climate just so much better within your school. And honestly, sometimes being out and about gives you a chance for kids to see you in a different way. And I know that Ryan and Ryan Sheehy and Mark French and I, from time to time, have done silly things to get kids to be more involved in maybe some fundraising efforts, or just maybe reading a whole bunch of books, those different sorts of things. And I've been slimed. I've had a pie in the face. I know Ryan has been part of an ice cream sundae. Mark French dresses up as Hero Zero. Just so many different things that you can do to make connections with the kids, so that the kids don't just look at you as that scary person in the office, but they can see you as a real person who truly cares about them. And honestly, getting out of your office is how you can show kids that you really and truly care about them. And also, when you're in classrooms, you can really be an instructional leader. You can join in small group instruction. You can connect with kids one-on-one and help them, whether it's in math class or language arts class. It doesn't matter what class it is. Showing an interest in what they're doing and trying your best to help them become better at what they're doing, either academically or socially, is so very important. You know what? Sometimes just giving a teacher a half an hour off while you go in and teach for them so that they can kind of get themselves together, that's another way when you're out of your office. It really is powerful. We do Goose passes here at Merton Intermediate School, and Goose stands for Get Out of School Early. So if a teacher gets a Goose pass, they just have to set up something with me in advance. I take their last half hour of the day, and they get to leave early. It has to work into both of our schedules, but it's just another one of those things where teachers see how much you're there to support them, and it also helps our kids get to know us better as well, because sometimes, you know, you see a principal and you're like, well, all the principal does is he's outside, making sure we get in okay, he does the announcements, and then we have no idea where he is after that. And that's definitely not the case if you're a principal in action and you get out of your office. Just try your best. Put it in your calendar. Have your secretary remind you from time to time. Have your superintendent remind you that the reason that you're in school is for the kids and for the staff. It's not to sit in your office and fill out paperwork and answer phone calls and emails. You can find time and put that in your calendar. Do it before school or after school, or maybe like I am today on a Sunday. So I just want to make sure that you understand that it is such an important thing for us to get out and about, to connect with others who are like us, so that we can be the best that we can be for our kids and for our staff. And there's going to be some who say, you know, that's not what I remember my principal doing. My principal was never around, was never in classrooms. So we're trying to change the role of the principal. We really are. And I think many of us are doing that on a day-to-day basis. Get it in your head that it's okay not to be sitting in your office. It really is. Get there early, stay a little late, but when the kids are there and the staff is there, I do my best not to be in my office. Are there times that things are overwhelming? Yep, here I am on a Sunday in the afternoon, making sure that I have things ready for Monday. But I'd rather have a few extra hours on a Sunday or a Saturday, or maybe before school or after school, where I'm uninterrupted, so that when the kids are here, I can be with them and I can be with the staff. So I urge you to do your best to get out of your office and be a principal in action. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.